Glad you are with us. Special guest in studio today coming up in just a bit, Gene Pastula, where we talk about bond alternatives, linked benefit insurance, all kinds of really, really good stuff. I get more emails for Gene Pastula than anybody else, even me sometimes. So make sure you stick around. He always has a lot of really great information, and he's also a big, funny guy. I like him a lot. So Gene Pastula joining us today in a co-host environment. Gene Pastula, certified financial planner. I want to talk to you about a couple of things. And since I've got you for 2 segments here, I want to start out with bond alternatives. There's been a lot of talk in the bond market about interest rates going up, people that own bonds losing money. And I've mentioned many times in this program my passion for helping people make better money moves, especially in times of uncertainty, whether it be in how they manage their retirement distributions, or whether it be alternatives to bonds using fixed insurance products that nobody seems to like because many people don't understand them. You have a very good understanding of them. Can you explain how you can use fixed and indexed annuity contracts as an alternative to bonds where individuals won't lose money if interest rates go up, and in fact, might even make more money if interest rates go up?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I can.
Good.
First of all, I mean, historically, annuities, deferred annuities, and immediate, where you're drawing income, are an ideal alternative to bonds. That basically they are in the same category from the standpoint that they provide a relative degree or higher degree of safety, actually, because there's never any deterioration in principal that like there can be in bonds, but they offer also a predetermined level of interest along with some tax deferral depending on how you're utilizing it. So they're an automatic, should be an automatic consideration as an alternative. In fact, if you're structuring a bond portfolio within a stock and bond with a balanced portfolio, I as an advisor would certainly suggest to the client that they look at the bond side, and maybe you could even split it a little bit between annuities and bonds to get the same result as far as the interest rates and the accumulation, but you're minimizing the downside risk because they just don't have it. You're protected there. The difference is in bonds you pay your fees or commissions or charges up front when they're purchased. There's a charge. In a deferred annuity, you don't pay any any commissions or charges up front, but instead you make a commitment for 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, or sometimes longer to keep that money in place.
So the insurance company has the use of your money for 3, 5, 7 years, whatever that quote surrender period is, and that's how they're able to give you, in many instances, a better return than perhaps CDs or money market accounts, and in some cases bonds. But they have access to the money, and they use the money. So if interest rates go up, they can reinvest that money at higher rates and not have to tag you with a principal loss in the event they want liquidity, because you do offer 10% liquidity. Talk about that in the 1 minute that we have left, because a lot of people think you're giving the insurance company the money forever and you can't get your hands on it.
Yeah, well, they do allocate, they do set up features in these things to recognize the fact that, there can be times when, you really need to tap those funds. In most cases, they'll always offer a 10% access just for any reason. One of the things that older people key in on is the fact that you can access pretty much the entire amount at any time without fees for use because you have to use a nursing home. So there's, because that's the time if you haven't made other arrangements or other plans, if that's the money you're going to have to tap to get the additional income, then these annuities will allow you access without charge.
Okay, I want you to call Gene Pastula if you have questions on annuities, because certainly a lot of people do. He has a company that services 6,000 brokers nationwide. So he's got access to all of the information that you need. 800-238-8144. 800-238-8144. Email me at raylucia.com. Can you stick around for another seggy?
I can.
All right, we'll be back with Gene. Don't go away.
Ray Lucia Show.
You know, there is one aspect of financial planning that I've learned a lot about in the last, year or two from Gene Pastula, my special guest in studio. And it has to do with a product that he taught me about 25 years ago, but I'm a little slow on the uptake. So I finally learned more about it a year or two ago. And Gene is with me, Gene Pastula, certified financial planner. He owns Westland Financial and has for many, many years. And Gene, you provide services to thousands of brokers. You actually give them the product ideas and the concepts for making sure that individuals are protected, not only from the standpoint of retirement income, and we were just discussing annuities, but also linked benefits. And I'm getting more emails on that subject than virtually any other subject right now. The linked benefits, long-term health care / life insurance policy. Can you give a 1-minute overview for those that haven't heard you talk about it before?
Yeah, well, the whole idea of what we do for all these brokers is to try to make insurance, instead of a standalone product, make it what it truly should be and is an integral part of a portfolio to accomplish certain things. And of course, the aging of the boomers and what have you has created a huge awareness of the financial issues that we have to take into consideration when we're designing our retirement plans and what have you. And for the vast majority of us, the number one major risk that we take is long-term care. 70%, 60 to 70% will end up utilizing care for some time. So obviously there's conventional long-term care insurance policies that are available, and they do a really good job, but an awful lot of people have enough money that they can have the alternative of maybe self-funding, and they think of that, and they kind of get into a mode of thinking and not doing. We developed the idea of using a life insurance policy about 25 years ago that obviously pays when you die, a huge amount based on what you put in. And we said, why don't we just pay the life insurance policy early if they need long-term care? And in so doing, we created this contract where we put all the cost of the insurance, all the premiums, if you will, that one would pay, we put it all in once in the form of just a transfer. And that money is in the insurance contract, earning a little higher interest, certainly a little higher interest than is available right now in the banks or anything else that's safe. And the insurance company uses that extra interest to cover the cost of providing a death benefit that may be as much as twice what you put in, no matter when you die, like tomorrow or 10 years from now or what have you. That's insurance. That's nothing new. But what we did was we said, okay, but that death benefit could be tapped early if you need long-term care. So imagine having your bank account all of a sudden turn into a $100,000 bank account, all of a sudden turns into a $200,000 asset that you can draw down as much as $100,000 a year if you need it to pay the cost of care, which can be, depending on where you live, anywhere from $5,000 to $11,000 a month. So that's what we've created. And then we put a little rider on there that said, if you use all the $200,000 and you still need care, there'll be another $400,000 from the insurance company that you can draw on to continue. So I mean, you can get some significant leverage. But if you don't use all the $200,000 or you don't use any of it, then your heirs will receive the $200,000 or what's left over.
So it's basically no way to lose unless you live so long and never need care that the $200,000 death benefit could have been $250,000 if you had invested the money somewhere else. I mean, that's the only downside
Who
that
knew?
I found.
You know,
Right.
you could have been in, you could have been in stocks.
But you lived until you were 105.
That's right.
So, I mean, you know, it cost you 50 grand in investment return for the last 15 years of your life. Worse things could happen.
And you don't even have to deal with it.
Right.
Let your kids deal with that.
You know what?
So,
He could have, should have, would have.
That's right.
He would have just only died at 91 instead of 106. In either event, what I have, I've used the analogy, if you have $100,000, say, it doesn't have to be 100,000, by the way, we make that number up. But if you have $100,000 in your left pocket, you take it out and put it in your right pocket, you still have $100,000. The balance sheet hasn't changed. And in fact, if you needed to get your hands on that $100,000 in your right pocket, you can dip your right hand into your right pocket and pull out a 10 or a 20 or 1,000 or up to $10,000 or 20,000 or even 90,000 and use it. And after 2 years, you can take all 100,000 out because the money becomes totally liquid. And of course, if you leave it there, it provides this long-term health care benefit where 60 to 70% of us are going to need it anyway, and you get leverage. The 100,000 turns into as much as 500,000 or 600,000 for long-term health care. How'd I do?
You did great. In fact, the really interesting thing about it is that if you compare it to an investment, that you're accumulating money for emergencies or what have you, and what you have here is something that kind of, while your mutual fund or your stock portfolio is slowly going, slowly going up, to ultimate whatever the goal is, and you have this little insurance contract that's sitting there, just basically there with the money that you put in, all of these available. But now when you need it, all of a sudden, the balance in the insurance account just goes flying by your other investments because it instantly creates an asset that is anywhere from 3 to 5 times the amount of money that you committed to this, and all tax-free.
Oh, we forgot about that. Tax-free is good. So you have the ability to borrow money out of the account. You have the ability to surrender the account with a principal-protected guarantee. Let me say that again. Your principal is protected by the insurance company, of course, always subject to the claims paying ability of the insurance company, but you're dealing with big companies, right? I mean, monster companies.
Of course.
Yeah. And I know of no defaults ever from any of these big. In fact, I know of no defaults from an insurance company ever not paying benefits. Must have happened somewhere, but I've never heard of it.
No.
So your money is secure, your money is liquid, and you have these benefits that are going to affect something. Just imagine if you're buying fire insurance and there was a 70% chance that your house was going to burn down. How much they'd have to charge you for that fire insurance. Just think about that for a minute. There's a 70% chance you're going to need this, and the charge is nothing. Take the money out of your emergency fund, earning 0.1%, and put it into another emergency fund with an insurance company, earning probably more than that, significantly more than that, and they're going to take the excess earnings and buy this long-term care benefit. So if an insurance company will give you 3.5%, and your bank will give you 0.5%, that extra 3% can actually provide you a benefit that you want to buy anyway, but nobody wants to pay for it. Got money in my left pocket? Bank of America or Wells Fargo or wherever. I put it in my right pocket, XYZ Insurance Company. I have complete liquidity whenever I want it within at least 2 years, complete liquidity. The first couple of years, call it 90% liquidity. And I have a death benefit that if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, the 100,000 in my right pocket instantly turns into, and I'm making this number up, 200,000. I can't think of anything that's negative about that, Gene. Does anybody ever say no?
We believe it or not, but we tried to. We've designed this thing over many years. I mean, this has been around for 25 years, and we've modified it and what have you to try to make a financial instrument that for that particular market, which is the retiring, the person who is obviously facing this kind of risk at some point in time, and make it so that there is no downside to it. And that's the return of premium, the equity that's in there. I mean, you look at a balance sheet You look at your balance sheet before you put the money in, you look at it afterwards, and it's the same. The only difference is that the amount available for long-term care happens to be several $100,000 more than it would have been otherwise. One of the things that I want to make a point is that we talk in terms of like moving 100,000 or 50 from one pocket to the next, which is the most popular way of doing it. But people have money in their IRAs, and they get to be 70 and a half, and they have to start taking out, what is it 8%?
No, it starts about 4%.
4%? Okay,
yeah.
So they have to start taking money out of this IRA, and it goes up every year. That's
it's a great
they pay
idea.
taxes. Well, you don't have to put the money into one of these things all at once. You can stage it in over time, and we can design them to put the money in over 5 years, 10 years, your lifetime, whatever
that's
works.
an excellent point, because so many people have all their money sitting in pre-tax accounts and no money sitting in post-tax accounts, and may not be able to put 25, 50, 100,000 bucks away.
We see that all the time.
But you could stage it in, as you say, just take a certain amount out, pay a little bit of tax, and then take the balance and invest it. You got to call Gene. I'm telling you, his number is 800-238-8144. If nothing else, take a look at how this might impact your life, not only financially, but also the security of your children. Or you can email me, and I'll get it over to Gene at raylucia.com. We'll be back.